So let's dive in. What kind of questions do you have about your... Hi.
I watched some of your YouTube, so I got to the whole version of your first near-death experience, but you didn't speak about your second. Can you speak about that?
The second near-death experience was... The second near-death experience was a little hard to explain. I didn't get a lot from that. It was really an interesting... I still haven't really reflected and really see what was going on there. I was 16 years old at that time. I remember pulling out someplace and a drunk driver T-boned me. I remember being cut out of the car, but I had absolutely no injuries. It was just a rather interesting experience that this car going 60 miles per hour T-boned me, being cut out of the car, and I had absolutely no injuries. Like I was enveloped, protected in some way. That was my experience there. And I haven't really reflected on how profound that was, that somehow I was unscathed after being cut away from a car. And when I saw the car later, it was like, wow, and I walked away with nothing on that. Yeah.
When you talk of the thought process, you point towards your head and then you point towards your chest. What do you name these two different entities?
Okay, well this appears usually these are thoughts appear, usually the head trash. And this, when I look here, this is sort of like indicating like the perfect spirit, like our soul, if you will. It's just our seat of our soul is where I'm pointing to. Like this is our thoughts, and it's coming second, but this is always speaking first. There's this intuitive voice, these instincts are rising first. Then the mind comes up with the stories.
Do they really exist or are imaginary?
Our thoughts?
No, what goes on here?
What goes on here, it's just my way to express consciousness. So the way I see consciousness is if you look at your body, take pictures of yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, you see all these changing bodies. But what stayed the same through all those bodies is the one who sees through the eyes, that consciousness. That's what I'm pointing to here, that underlying consciousness that's always been there, that perfect spirit.
Could you draw a parallel to ego and id?
Yeah, you could, because the ego, you can't really cut open the brain and say, there's the ego. It's just a concept of thoughts, if you will. And that's the ego, is that personality, the stories, and all that. Because it's just a concept, the word ego is just a concept that you can't open up the brain and say, oh, there's the ego. It doesn't exist. It's just a definition to try to get some clarity onto the thought processes, if you will.
But the thought process takes place as a result of certain electrical impulses in the brain.
Yes.
But what happens in your chest, how does that take place?
Oh, the intuitive voice. The best way I could describe the intuitive voice, well, this is more of a chemical reaction. This is just wisdom arising out of the stillness. This wisdom just arises out of the stillness. It's hard to define, because it's like hearing that voice say perfect spirit, or drink water, do yoga, where there's no story, just like a wisdom that just sort of is there, where this is more of a chemical process based on the sensory inputs and the accumulation of time. It's trying to formulate a story and project what is the best case scenario.
And you feel that what goes on in the brain is not always right, it's mostly wrong?
Yes.
Why?
Because of my own experience. I saw when I was following this voice and listening to my 6 doctors, I wasn't getting better. So how could it be right? I was not getting better. When I followed this voice, I cured myself. I healed by following that inner knowing, if you will. And this is what the difference is. This is more like an inner knowing. It just arises out of the stillness, as opposed to the life experiences where it says chemical reaction and the memories.
So looking at it from a larger scheme of things, mankind has been produced with wrong concepts in their brain?
Because once again, it's the term concepts. It's relative to your perception. Once again, it's the language. And what's coming to me with that, with the language, the truth that can be spoken is not the great truth. From the Tao, the truth that can be spoken is not the great truth, because it's all based on that mental perception. It's not from this deeper place, because when it comes from this deeper place, unfortunately the mind's going to twist it and give its own perception of what this means. And language is very difficult, and we have to use words to communicate with one another. So you have to use those words, or we would just be all in stillness and there would be no communication. It would just be, there would be a point to the human experience that there's no interaction, no communication. There wouldn't be a need to exist if we had none of that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Speaking of stillness, so do you qualify or quantify these thoughts as like, okay, these thoughts are like more like the head trash category, and these thoughts are okay if, let's say, they're not self-referential or displaced in time, like, regrets about past or...
Yeah, there are some useful thoughts, like to solve, like to do math problems, to solve real life situations, that it is useful. I see 90% of the thoughts are useless, but that 10% are the ones that help us function, to discern what is best for me, how to drive a car, how to feed myself. Because if you don't have these thoughts going, you don't know how to feed yourself, you don't know how to take care of yourself. So there are useful thoughts. So when I do my Head Trash Anonymous, it's really about recovering and healing from negative thought addiction. The negative thoughts that we're constantly recycling over and over again. There's 90% thoughts that just keep on going and going and going on a loop.
You had mentioned meditation as a way to get some distance from your thoughts. Are there any other, for lack of a better word, tips or tricks or ways that you would recommend getting rid of the head trash?
Yeah, there's definitely some ways. Like, so for some people that don't like a meditation practice, they just don't feel like they can just sit there. I say, well, do a mindfulness practice. Start touching objects and just start just keeping yourself here in this moment. But there's always a way for someone. A couple of years ago when I was at SAN, somebody gave me a ride back to an airport, and he had a hard time, stilling his mind. So what I did for him was, he liked to watch football. And when we're sitting in the restaurant, I had him do his football watching as his mindfulness practice. I was asking him questions and his opinions. Then his question, what makes you think those opinions are the truth? Because a player was injured. So what do you think the player's feeling? What do you think the owner's feeling? And how do you know that's true? And questioning, it's a process of self-inquiry. Like, is this really my truth? Are these opinions true? Are these beliefs true? But it's really about keeping yourself here in this moment. Like, the mind is rarely aware of the present moment. It's either future guessing or in the past. It's rarely aware of this moment. And the real interesting thing when I'm working with clients is I don't think clearing the head trash is very effective, because I heard my son downstairs, I heard something going off in the backyard. I'm like, perfect, you were here in this moment. You weren't lost in the story. You heard what was going on downstairs, you heard what was going on in the backyard. That's perfect, you're here in this moment, so it was clear. Otherwise, you wouldn't have noticed the sounds downstairs at the back or back behind you. You've been so lost in your stories, the mind's rarely aware of the present moment. It has to really get focused. So when the mind quiets, all your senses sort of open and you're just sort of aware of what's of the environment. So there's always ways. And a good question to ask people is, when you're just going through and you feel like you're on autopilot, just stop and say, where am I? And look around and see where you're standing, what you see, and just really engage your senses. And the story I'd like to share too is I was taking a friend to a doctor in Philadelphia. She was on the subway, but she was starting to go into a panic attack. So what I had her do was grab the metal pole, but I wasn't telling her what I was doing. I just had her grab the metal pole. Then I was asking her questions about the metal pole, asking about what she's standing on. I was asking her a question for just a few minutes, and she was just calm. It was like the panic attack went away, because I got her into the moment without telling her, oh, let's get you back into the moment. I just asked her questions about this moment. Grab the pole. What does that feel like? What do you see? What do you hear? And just asking those questions to get the mind back focused into this instead of up in here lost in thoughts.
This is still in your head, basically, but what do you think about reframing negative thoughts? It's something I have found useful at times.
Yeah, reframing could be useful, but once again, you can get lost in chasing thoughts with more thoughts.
Right.
And my whole point is to allow the mind to soften, to relax, so you can really hear your own instincts and your own intuition, if you will. And sometimes you need to do like the positive affirmations. If there's something really rooted deep in the subconscious, that could be your tool to reprogram the subconscious. or it could be positive affirmations, it could be EFT, it could be one of those kind of tools to reprogram the subconscious. Because the question I like to ask people is, do you feel good right now? If you don't feel good right now, what's the story? Are you aware of the conscious story? If you're not aware of the story why you're not feeling good, then it's something buried in your subconscious. And what can you do to shift yourself into happiness? Is it music? Is it watching a video? How can you shift yourself out of that? Is it positive affirmations to get you into that place? That's one of the questions I ask myself frequently is like, where did my happiness go? And I just say, oh, there's that story. There's this story. And just see. And that was the real challenge for me, you know. That really affected my mood, obviously, when my mom passed suddenly. It wasn't not expected. It definitely took me into the mind state really quick, but it took me about a day to really anchor myself back into here because it was just firing up all the memories of my mom's life. And it just kept firing these memories. So I just had to keep pulling myself back and back and back and back. But it was good that I had that 5 years of practice of keep pulling it back to make it quicker and more efficient, if you will, because the energy of grief is just so strong because it's just firing away. But it's just really about having that compassion for yourself of every time, you know, the mind's going, you bring yourself back to the moment, you're doing like a mental rep. You're building your mental cognitive skills. So every time you bring yourself back, you're getting stronger. As you go to the gym, you do 1 rep a day, you're gonna be stronger over a month. And same thing with the mind. There goes the story, bring yourself back. There goes the mind, bring it back. You're doing reps. Even if you only do that twice in a day, maybe the next day you do it 3, but that mind's gonna get stronger and stronger. You're actually building self-awareness. You're getting some distance from these thoughts. And that's perfect practice of just, there goes the story. I'm not feeling good right now. What's going on? And come back here. Yes.
And so I'm sorry if you lost your mom. And I wanted
Thank
to
you.
ask you about your grief.
Yeah.
And so grief is one of those emotions that comes up. It's one of the things that just emerges sometimes.
Right.
And so I think it seems that it's a process that we as like human animals have to go through.
Right.
So I think I'm wondering whether or how you can determine whether something is a head scratch thought or whether it's pure grief. And it's a hard question to ask because I'm not sure
Yeah.
about the words.
The way I like to think of emotions is felt thoughts. Emotions are really felt thoughts. So it's really, it says, I have this emotion, what's the story, and that's what I was seeing when I was going through grief, because it would fire up all those memories of my mom's life, my interactions with her. It was constantly triggering those memories. That grief was constantly firing those memories, taking me out of this moment. So when the memories would come up, I would just constantly pull myself back here. There goes those memories. And some people get lost in those memories.
Why is that not a good thing to do, or why is that damaging?
Well, it's really interesting using the word damaging, because grief is a very individual practice. You really can't tell somebody to get over it. They really have to go through it. But grief, you know, it can keep you stuck in your life. That you're here for a reason to live your mission. If you get stuck in grief, and I see this with my cousin who lost her son from a drug overdose. She lost her son. So, but she's a little bit stuck right now because she's constantly in this grief of reliving those memories over and over and over again. It really had an interesting revelation because she died on Tuesday. On Saturday, just my energy just completely shifted in a way that I can't explain. It just feels like my mom was already a very kind and compassionate person. I just felt an extra boost of kindness and compassion, like she just joined my spiritual team. It's just like that sense of her, like, mom's here.
And so your thought about this, that was what you thought, is that a thought that you ascribe? Or, how is that? Is it a truth, or is it something that is it a story but a positive story?
Well, that's how I said the Saturday was really interesting. Just that I felt my energy change. That's the best way I can describe it. That the energy change, and Mom was always very kind and compassionate. I just felt this surge of like kindness, compassion coming through me, and the mind trying to interpret this energy that was now attached to me, if you will. That now she's not stuck at the nursing home per se. Now she can be with me wherever I go.
How do you decipher? Is it just like you're saying a muscle, like you just have to keep believing and jumping?
Yeah, you have to keep believing and jumping, because in this state is the state of unknowing, the state of mystery, that you only know that next step. And just one thing I want to clarify too, people like to say higher self. I like to get people out of that term higher self, because it gets you looking outside yourself. You actually want to descend deeper into yourself, into your true self, that perfect spirit. And that's why people talk about ascension. It gets them outside themselves, where you want to descend deeper into yourself. Because you're here in a human body. How are you going to ascend? You really need to go deeper, because ascension really happens in the spiritual realms, not on earth. It's really about diving deeper. And that's one of the skills that has to be learned, is the skill of discernment. What does this voice sound like? This is more of like a knowing, you could say, like an instinctual knowing, where this is sort of like unsure, it's a little bit guessing, and it's not very supportive usually. This voice is usually not supportive. You must do this or you're a fool. It's going to create those kind of stories where this won't tell you that. So I say, do this, do that, and just taking a leap of faith. And the more you take a leap of faith of that, then this will begin to get quieter and quieter, because you're starting to trust yourself. You're starting to have faith in yourself. So this will naturally go quieter, but eventually it will make it a little bit noisier, trying to just get you away from this, because it doesn't want to give up. But eventually it will relent and will just be in the background. Because you're just doing beautiful work. Just keep trusting and having faith in yourself that you are the perfect spirit that's tapping into the other perfect spirit. What does this person need? And it's just this communication. That's when I work with people. It's like their mind's so noisy, so I'm just relaying what their perfect spirit's telling them. So when I'm doing this channeled meditation, I'm just really channeling their perfect spirit to see what I need to do to unlock this and clear it out. Because this is so sticky. A lot of people just can't clear it because it's very sticky. I can go in there and just take an eraser to it and like, all right, let's erase this out. And you can do that, but you're really keep taking that leap of faith in yourself. And sometimes you may only get one step. You won't get the whole process. You'll take that one step. Then the next one will come. But the mind will go crazy because it wants to know the final outcome. But it's that state of unknowing, the state of mystery. And that's really where the beautiful space is, that space of mystery. And really trusting and diving into that space. And life becomes magical when you do that. Then things just unfold. Things just really unfold when you get there.
I'm not sure I heard you right, but did you say that we choose the bodies that we
Yes.
are in?
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that some more. So when we're coming here into Earth, usually we're in the spirit realm is like, what do I want to accomplish for this lifetime? What are my parents going to be like? What kind of body am I going to have? Maybe you have a body that's really morbidly obese, but you chose that body because you wanted to learn that the mind's addicted to the sweets and other things, so you want to learn how to get out of that controlling mind. So to realize, I have this obese body, but I chose this body because I got to learn to get rid of the cravings in the mind, that this mind is this head trash saying, I need to eat this and this and this, because this will tell you to eat the apples, the carrots, the celery, where this will say, go have some more cake, go have some sugared sodas. But that intuitive voice within us knows the way. So that lesson, when they chose in, was maybe it's a lesson to learn to trust their own intuitive voice and not get lost up in here. And I'm actually learning to love themselves. And maybe that's also the practice there too, is learning to love themselves. That's ultimately what we have to do, is have this deep love and appreciation for ourselves. That this is my one body. Because I can't tell you how many times my mind think I could pick up the phone and say, hey God, I need a new body, this one's not functioning well. It doesn't work that way. I had a body that couldn't walk, but it's okay, because I learned to trust this and follow this voice to recover that. And that's why I was seeing that if you're tapping from here, there's infinite possibilities and potentials. So if you keep following that voice, you have no idea what's going to happen. I see in my own life, there's probably to a point with the MS that I've could have gotten to where my body wouldn't have made the recovery that I did. But I was just right at that right time for me to be in that place of curiosity, to explore, to see what is this ghost hunt thing about. And that whole thing sparked that. That's where we need those quantum moments, if you will. Something that we can't explain, something we can't rationalize. and we stay curious with that and dive in and say, what's that all about? Then we open up to new possibilities. That's the thing. People have these experiences, but they don't stay curious, like, why did this happen? And go into the inquiry to dive deeper to see why that is, because it's there to open you up. If people could just stop, slow down, and look at the signs around them, but they're constantly chasing, maybe there's a picture you haven't looked at in a while that's going to provide some insights, or a song that if you just stop, you'll hear, or maybe it's even like maybe you're just an intuitive voice to go do this, and you're not hearing because the mind's just chasing you on this to-do list that it must accomplish these items, and you're just running. And this is what I notice. People can go walk into like a kitchen to get a glass of water, but they don't really recognize each step as they walk to the kitchen. They're focused on the end goal, so they're just an autopilot, if you will, but it's about slowing down and really just seeing, taking that small steps that we are choosing this journey, and just really to slow down, to see what the lesson is, that we all have a lesson, if you will, that we want to accomplish here, to have that human experience, to overcome some challenge, some obstacle, to learn in some way, because we're here to add to the collective knowledge, if you will, that we're all here, we're all that one perfect spirit, but we're here to add to the collective knowledge of all these individual human experiences. So we're all choosing these experiences. And when you see you chose that experience, it puts you in place of power as opposed to a victim. That's the real thing, to have that twist that I chose this. If I chose this, I own it. I can change it. I'm in my power. It's like, with MS, it's like, why'd this happen to me? I made myself a victim. I took away all my power. When I took that meditation practice, I took responsibility back onto myself. It wasn't my 6 doctors anymore. When my team of 6 doctors before, it was like, it was their job to fix me. When I got rid of the 6 doctors, it was like, no, it's my job. And it's just really seeing that. Keep yourself in a place of empowerment. That's what I want people to see, that you're not a victim. Sometimes people are going to do really mean, nasty things to you, but you just have to learn to move on the best you can from those experiences. And sometimes that's really difficult, those traumas, that PTSD is very difficult. But it's really about being gentle and just loving yourself, that I'm doing the best I can do. And the person who did that to me was doing their best they know how to, based on that they believe their stories and they have that sense of separation. That's why we're so mean to each other, because we have the sense of separation, that we're all not all part of the one. And science has even proven that we're all cousins here. We're all related. MIT have proved that we're all, I think they figured out that we're all, the farthest we can be is 60-second cousins, which is like 400, 500 before a common era. So we all have a common ancestor. We just go back far enough, we'll see that common ancestor. So we're all cousins here. We all came from the same human family, but yet this mind has so much separation. That's not family, that's my enemy. But we're all family. That's the beauty of life, that we're all family. Yes?
Do only humans have pure spirit?
That's a good question. Let me dive into that one. The sense that's coming to me is, there's like human consciousness, there's like dog consciousness, cat consciousness. There's these different flavors of consciousness, if you will. And there's like one human consciousness, because it knows how to operate the human body, per se. A cat consciousness wouldn't know how to operate a human body. Likewise, a human consciousness wouldn't know how to operate a cat body. So we all have that sort of underlying consciousness, but it all roots back to the same oneness, that we are all little flavors of this ultimate oneness that's there, this one essence. That's what I'm feeling on that we have consciousness that knows how to operate this form. That's what I'm feeling on that. So we can do a little practice of what I did for getting the mind to stillness. I think that'll be a little fun to do, a little experience, to my little practice here. So so we're just going to sit here and just do a little practice. There's no rules to sitting. You can sit however you're comfortable. You can hold your hands wherever you're comfortable. Feet can be where they're, your posture can be wherever it is. The only thing I suggest for this meditation is possibly closing the eyes to remove external stimulation. And that's it. So you're just sitting here relaxing, just allowing yourself to be breathed, that you don't even have to put in the effort to be breathed. We're just sitting here relaxing. Nothing to do, nothing to accomplish. We're just allowing that body to soften. Just feeling the muscles in the feet relax, and the legs, and the hands, the arms. Just feel all the tension melt away. And you're just keeping yourself rooted here in this moment. You're keeping yourself present by feeling your feet on the floor, listening to my voice. If the mind comes into a story, just come back into this moment, that we're just sitting, that if we just sit here in this space, then we tap back into our power. So just sitting, just relaxing, allowing the mind to soften. And the beautiful thing, when the mind softens, grace is always descending down. But the engaged mind is actually blocking the grace, if you will. That the real way we allow grace to descend is by relaxing, by tapping into our perfect spirit to inspire that inspiration. But to realize the more I can relax, the more I allow grace to come through me. Because grace is the mother of miracles. So the more we can relax, the more we can be in this moment, then we allow grace. And if it helps, you can visualize this white light coming down from the heavens with a little gold energy in it that's always coming down. And the more you relax, the more it can come through the body. But the more you resist, the more the mind is active, the more it blocks grace. It sort of puts up an umbrella blocking it and flowing around you instead of through you. So it's all about relaxing in this moment. That all you need to do is just sit there and relax. Feel my feet on the floor. Hear the words. Hear the sounds around me. Maybe the raindrops from the rain. Just allow. But the mind will continue to create those stories to pull you out of this moment. Because that's all the mind knows how to do, is think about the past, what happened yesterday, or what's going to happen on the drive home, or what's going to happen tomorrow, or what about my to-do list? Because that's what the mind likes to do, is keep engaged. But we're just taking this time for ourselves to disengage, to relax. It's all about surrendering that thought process, the best to our ability. Just allowing this grace to descend, because grace is descending in every moment, this universal life energy. You can see that this mind, this head trash, if you will, is constantly throwing logs into the river of life, throwing stones, whatever it can to do to block grace from flowing smoothly through the body. That if grace can flow smoothly through the body, then it starts to peel away all that does not serve you. So if it helps, you can see the white light coming down, and out your feet is almost like this silver energy with this black junk in it. That's all these beliefs, all these opinions, all these judgments just get washed away in this river of life coming from grace. Grace is this river of life constantly igniting your spirit, if you will. And we get into this sense of separation from an engaged mind. We begin to feel all alone. We feel our energy draining. But the more we relax, the more energy we feel, the more aliveness we feel in the body. So if you focus on your fingers, you probably feel some tingling, some energy going through there. That this is that life force that's always flowing that we don't notice because we're too distracted with that mind. But we simply have to relax. Allow this moment to be just as it is, and to realize in this moment all is well, despite the mental stories that say this moment should not be like this, that I need to go change this, I need to go change this, and somehow I need to go back and change the past. Because the mind has these impossible fantasies. We're just going to keep ourselves here grounded the best we can. And the more we're in this moment, the more likely we're going to hear that intuitive voice, those insights. Because the mind is very loud, screaming at you. But it's really about relaxing and honoring yourself, that I deserve peace. And through peace, that stillness, my own wisdom will arise. And my own wisdom is my truth to happiness, to health, to a better job, to better abundance. That wisdom knows the way, but to realize the real path is inward, to keep going within yourself, to realize that I am this perfect spirit. I am not these mental stories, this head trash, this nonsense. That I came here to tap into my infinite potentials and possibilities. And this mind has made me so small, so insignificant. Why do I trust that as my truth? Your mind has created these problems. Why are you expecting the mind to solve those problems? To realize that all your answers are within you. The mind is constantly creating problems, and the spirit knows the way through them. To realize if there's no thoughts, there's no problems, there's no issues. There's only an issue, a problem, when that thought arises saying this should not be. But we just keep ourselves here in this moment and see the moment is perfect just the way it is. If you notice you're getting yourself sleepy, that's the mind going into its defense mechanism. It doesn't want to give up control. So when that happens, maybe you stand up a little more rigid. You do something to keep yourself awake. Maybe you really concentrate on your feet or your hands. And you're just doing something to keep your focus here in this moment. Maybe it's bouncing your feet up or down, or maybe it's rubbing your hands. There's no rules. Just realize there's no rules. There's no proper way to relax. The only thing you need to do to relax is stay aware, to gain control over the mind, and just be aware of the moment. That's really it. But the mind likes to make things complicated. But to see life is very simple, and look for that simplest path. We don't need to overcomplicate things with all these complex terms, concepts. They're just keeping the mind engaged. We're just learning to relax, let all the learnings go in the spiritual practices, let all that go. Because all you need to do is tap into your perfect spirit and allow grace to descend. And allow your spiritual team all around you fill you with these insights, these wisdoms. That your ancestors were always with you, to carry on their legacy. And to realize that you are here for a purpose. You were born for a purpose. And perhaps you don't know what that purpose is because the mind has you confused, lost. The mind likes to seek outside of itself. But what is it trying to seek? For the real you is within you. The mind's just playing games that the answer's out there. But the answer is within you, and trust that. Leap into faith. That you know the way forward. You really do. Take that leap of faith in yourself. You are worth it. All right, so we just want to open our eyes and come back when it feels right. So hopefully everybody got a little bit of sense of peace in that little quick relaxation practice. And that's basically what I did for 5 minutes a day. That's what I did. That was it. And by 3 months, 15 minutes twice a day of relaxation. Then I heard a voice say, perfect spirit. The mind makes it so, so complex. Like, where's that block that's holding you up? That's one of the things I do offer. If you go to my website, is the free head trash assessment to see what your blocks are in regards to health, abundance, relationships, careers, whatever it may be. I offer that head trash assessment saying, these are your blocks. And maybe you can't see them because you're too close to the situation. So if I can identify those blocks for you, then you can say, okay, we can work on this. Or you can go to YouTube, watch my head trash clearing sessions. And what I tell everyone to do is every day do a daily mental shower. What beliefs, opinions, judgments did I pick up today that are not serving me? It's just a daily mental shower. Like, once you clear all this away, the mind's going to reaccumulate trash. The mind's a hoarder. It likes collecting stuff. Oh, this is nice. Let me bring this in. Oh, this is nice. And it just keeps adding more and more trash. So every day I'm just saying, okay, what beliefs did I pick up today? What judgments? What opinions? Or perhaps if you're empathetic, What energy did I pick up today that's not serving me? Where can I let that go? And just realize, okay, just follow this voice and it'll tell me how to get rid of all this stuff. It's just a matter of a little bit of diligence, if you will. It's not about working harder. It's just being more diligent that I deserve 5 minutes to myself. That was my mantra when I began. I deserve 5 minutes to myself. But regardless, his mind was telling me that I was wasting my time, that I didn't deserve 5 minutes, that I needed to go do this. Oh, an email just dinged, I need to go check that. Oh, I'm missing my favorite show on TV. The mind was always telling me that I was wasting my time. I'm missing something. What we're missing is our tapping into our strength, our power, and really taking that time. And if 5 minutes is too long for you, then start with a minute, 2 minutes, whatever feels right to you. And if it doesn't work for you, then do a mindfulness practice. Start touching things. Ask yourself once in a while, what do I see? And just getting yourself back here and just finding your own recipe. That's why I really want to help people to find their own recipe. What is your way forward? And I love what Adyashanti says in his talks, I'm lying to you. Don't believe anything I say. Just follow what resonates with you, for this is your truth. Because once again, the truth that can be spoken is not the great truth. So just realize what resonates with you and let go of the rest. Don't add more stuff that does not serve you. Because this thing was constantly adding stuff. And we want to start subtracting stuff, deleting stuff. Like the, like the trash can on the computer, we're constantly deleting our stuff. We just want to delete. And we just do this through relaxation, that we don't have to overcomplicate it. But the mind loves rules. And I'm so thankful I never had a formal meditation practice or a teacher. My bipolar OCD brain would have been like, all right, there's rules, let's follow these rules. So I didn't have any of these rules of a teacher, so I just relax. That was it, of just sitting and just relaxing. And that's what people that come to me that want to deepen their spiritual practice. They've been meditating for 20, 30 years and not getting any place. So I say, okay, what's your routine? Let's strip that away and see what happens. Initially, when I strip away the routine, just notice where the mind's lacking. I can't do this, the incense not burning. I'm not sitting in my favorite chair. I'm not doing this or that. The mind has created all these rules. That's why you're not making progress. So progress is about letting things go. Like, I don't sit for a certain amount of time each day. I don't sit at a specific, I have no rituals or routines. It's like, oh, I have a few minutes now, I'll sit now. Oh, let me go sit over there. Let me go sit over here. Let me go sit there, and wherever, for however long. Some days I can sit for 2-3 minutes. Some days I can sit for an hour. There's absolutely no rules. I just let go of any routines and just being like, this is what's calling to me today. And just really following what's calling to you for your practice. Only you know the answer for that. What is your practice? There's no right or wrong way. There's no rules. Try to keep it simple. That's the big thing. Keep it simple. The mind loves to overcomplicate things.